You might think that buying a $200,000 RV guarantees luxury and quality, but there are 7 misconceptions that might completely change how you view these high-end models.
Now, back in 2021, we bought our very first RV. We were complete newbies. We didn't know anything about RVs, and yet here we are.
And we made a lot of mistakes because there was just so much we didn't know. So welcome to the channel, and let's get started. The first misconception about buying these high-end RVs is that the dealership PDI, now a PDI is basically just a dealer's inspection of the vehicle, is all you need on these high-end models. So one of the things is that a luxury RV doesn't necessarily always mean just a big Class A RV. You can have luxury RVs in all of the classes of RV, travel trailers, Class Bs, Class Cs. You're spending $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 or more on these vehicles, and a lot of people believe that when you spend that much money that these are going to be in great shape. That's a lot of moolah.
That is quite a bit of money.
But the one thing that you need to know is that the price tag doesn't always guarantee quality. And we know firsthand, last year, John and I bought a $400,000 diesel pusher. Now, that was the price tag. That's not what we paid for it, but we bought a $400,000 MSRP RV, and it had a ton of problems.
It did. It was incredible, the condition it was presented to us in. So there were problems with rust inside the cargo bays. We also had loose or broken items inside the RV itself. And they were numerous. It wasn't just 1 or 2 things. And that shocked us.
Including exposed electrical wires.
Yes.
And it was to the point where we decided not to accept delivery. So the point of telling you our story is to let you know that in addition to a PDI, you must always get an inspection. Now, we do a lot of videos about how to buy an RV, and this isn't one of those videos, but you can always check out on our channel one of our how to buy an RV videos for more information about getting an inspection and what to look for. Now, the next misconception, and you know, John, sometimes people would call this a lie, and I just don't like to use the word lie. You know what I mean? I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. The next one is that there is no spontaneity with RVing. And I hear this all the time. You hear that campgrounds are always booked, you can't get a space, you've got to plan out a year ahead. We are very spontaneous people. We'll plan our RV trips the week before we want to take off and go.
We do often.
And I have to say, we have never had a problem going anywhere when we wanted to go.
Right, we haven't.
Now, we may not end up in the most popular RV resort, although sometimes we do, right? But we always find a nice RV, whether it's a resort or a state park or a COE, that we can stay at when we want to travel to a particular area. In fact, sometimes we even do it the day of, which I wouldn't recommend to anybody, but if you're that spontaneous, go ahead.
I mean, sure. We do go to the sites that have state parks, regional parks, and if we're in a bind, we may even stay at a private campground.
And we've never had an issue at all.
No, we haven't.
No. So the next misconception that we want to tell you guys about is the RV lifestyle is only for full-timers. We see it all the time. There are tons of YouTube channels featuring full-time RVers. Not as many of us part-timers are out there, but I think that there are just as many, if not more, part-timers that are out there on the road enjoying the RV life.
There are plenty of us. We go to campgrounds all the time and talk to individuals who are out there for a weekend or for a holiday weekend or maybe just for a few days. It happens all the time.
Manufacturers generally design RVs with the assumption that they will be used 20 to 50 times per year on average. That pretty much aligns with how most RVers tend to camp. When you look at that 20 to 50 nights, people are usually taking about 3 to 6 weeks vacation in their RV. So 3 weeks, that would be as 21 days You know, so that pretty much aligns. Some of the high-end manufacturers or full-time models, they're intended for more frequent use for like the 200 to the 365 nights per year. But those are exceptions, so please keep that in mind. The way that they are constructed and built is for recreation. They are recreational vehicles.
Hence the name.
Hence the name. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a part-time RVer. Not everybody wants to give up their sticks and bricks. Not everybody wants to give up, you know, being close to family or their neighborhoods or travel all the time. And there are lots of other good options too. Like you could be part-time, you know, go a few times, a couple times a month. And for some, it's a few times a year. But there's also what we like to call most timing, which is where you actually have a home base to go back to so that you can always be near your friends and family and like go out for 3 months, come back, stay for a month. We have neighbors that do that, as a matter of fact.
Yes, right down the street.
We always see them traveling and enjoying themselves, and then they come back for a month to spend time with the family. When they get tired of the family and the friends, and they go back out again. There are lots of different ways to RV. Please don't feel like the only way to enjoy the RV lifestyle is to go full-time. The next misconception is that RVs are built for full-time living. Now that is a lie.
No, that's true. Some RVs are easier than others to live in full-time.
That is very true. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that these things are not built like your house. They are not as sturdy as your house. And your house is not driving down the road. And when you take these things and you drive them down the road, they are going to break. In fact, every big trip that we take anywhere, when we get back, we have to put aside time to be able to do the repairs on that RV.
Yes.
We've had trim fall off.
Oh, doors break. We've had our dinette break. We've had to fix those seats. I've actually had to go under my dashboard to put some screws back in that fell out during the trip.
Oh, in Colorado, your left mirror fell off?
It almost fell off. It spun all the way around, so it was useless.
And when we got back to Ohio from Yellowstone, we noticed we had wires hanging down underneath the RV.
That's right. Some wires had broken loose of their metal bracket. It got metal fatigue during the trip.
These are just things that have to be done. And going full time, you're going to be making these repairs very often. Now, there are some RVs that are built for full-time living.
They are.
They have the ability to handle the varied temperatures, such as, you know, being in cold weather, being in hot weather.
Right.
And they are supposed to hold up and last. I've never owned one. I don't know what it's like. I can't really speak as to how well they hold up. If you have an RV that's certified for full-time living and you live in it full-time, please put in the comments below. We'd love to know how those RVs are holding up.
Right. How well is it working for you? I like some of the features on those, like the tank heaters.
Oh, those are really cool.
That must be nice.
Really nice, yeah. Especially since we winter camp.
I know. I worry about those tanks all the time.
So speaking about fixing your RV, let's talk a little bit about service. Here is the next misconception, that you can get your RV serviced anywhere.
Especially if you have the gas with the F-53 chassis, the Ford. They tell you can take it to any Ford service department. Not true at all.
No. A lot of the Ford dealerships will not take and service, just simple things like tire rotations or oil changes. They will not do those basic types of services because they're afraid of damaging RVs. Our local Ford dealer said that they used to take in RVs, but they got a lot of complaints because the mechanics would walk in with their greasy boots and sit in the captain's chair and drive it and get grease and dirt in the RV, and it was hard to clean it up sometimes, and so they made a decision that they weren't going to do that anymore. But not only will the local Ford dealerships not service you, but other RV dealerships may not service your RV if you didn't buy the RV from them. So when you're looking to purchase an RV, that is something that you really need to think about. Who am I buying from and what is their service like? Because once you leave that dealership, you may not be able to get service at any other dealership.
So that's something to think of, is how far away from home that dealership is and how good their service is.
Absolutely. And then another thing that you may not realize is that the dealerships are not equipped to fix everything on an RV, even when you buy it new and you've only had it, let's say, for a few months, or you got your inspection. There are some things that the dealerships just can't fix. For example, when we purchased our RV, we ended up having to take it all the way back to Indiana to get repairs because there were issues with our rear cap and a few other things that the dealership had no idea how to fix. Look, the service people in the dealerships are not always, how should I put it? I don't want to be negative, but they really are, you can't be skilled, they're not skilled in everything.
Right.
On the RV. They don't know everything about that RV, and they deal with different types, multiple types of RVs, and so it's hard to build up. I'm trying to figure out the right way to say this, John. Help me out here.
They're not well trained in some major work that's specific to certain RVs. Taking off an end cap, for instance, that is something only the factory seems to be capable of doing because that is a huge job.
And then we had a leak.
One of our wonderful community out there helped us out by telling us, hey, did you look at the clearance lights? Because we were focused on the windshield, the dealers were focused on the windshield.
That's true.
Fleetwood out in Elkhart, Indiana was focused on the windshield, so everybody was replacing that and fixing that and sealing that, and we still had the leaks, and it turned out it was our lights.
Mm-hmm. The last misconception is that at the end of the season, you can store and forget about your RV. And that's for us part-timers, right? Because our full-timers aren't doing that.
Right.
You cannot just store your RV.
If you can't keep your RV at home, wherever you're keeping it, you're going to want to drop in on that RV frequently to ensure that rodents aren't getting in, to ensure that rain is not getting in, to ensure that your tires are still inflated. You need to check on these things.
And there are a lot of steps that you have to take when you put your RV into storage,
yes,
especially after you winterize it, so that when you come back to it, your engine doesn't fail,
right,
your tires aren't flat,
no,
your lights no longer work, your batteries are all drained. And we've done a really good video on that, and you can check out this video right here, or actually right there on John's face, for all the things that you need to do when you put your RV in storage